What's up guys, Kevin Cage here with another crypto update. We're going to dive into Casper, XRP, and a few other alts, and let's kick it off. First up, we have Casper Labs joining the World Economic Forum Global Innovators community as a blockchain and digital assets partner today. And joining this community enables Casper Labs to expand its market leadership role and drive industry conversations around blockchain adoption challenges and opportunities. This is a critical time for educating organizations on the true scope of blockchain's transformative business potential. Many leaders still see blockchain as a cryptocurrency-specific technology and are not aware of the increasingly diverse ways it's being implemented to solve business problems. In joining the World Economic Forum Shaping the Future of Technology Governance Blockchain and Digital Assets platform, Casper Labs will lead efforts to ensure equity, interoperability, transparency, and trust in the governance of distributed ledger tech. And this announcement comes off the heels of several milestones for Casper Labs, including the largest ever blockchain deployment in conjunction with IPWE, which will be tokenizing patents as NFTs on Casper's blockchain, assigning value to new markets with intellectual property. And what's really exciting about this is we had the Casper CEO said that about $7 to $10 billion in aggregate value with IPWE is coming on top of Casper. So all of those patents, intellectual property, licenses are going to be tradable and traceable on Casper's network. In tandem with the Google Cloud integration, along with these strategic partnerships including Skybridge Capital, a $3.5 billion fund, and then Al Mascari related to the royal family in Abu Dhabi. And I was looking at the XRP price chart and the Casper price chart this morning, both on the daily time frame. So we have the MACD right here. When XRP got that initial pop, we can see we are consolidating right around there. Now once the EMAs did this crossover, or a golden cross technically, as soon as they crossed right there, the zero line, we got some good bullish momentum and a continuation from here up here to the previous swing high. So we can see Casper here at 3.89 cents, and we're starting to get that momentum coming across for the MACD on the histogram, but we want to see this EMA actually cross through the zero line and do a continuation. And I really hope this happens sooner than later, because in accumulation overall, Casper's been down here for over 300 days, between a tight trading range of about 2 to 5 cents. So I'd love to finally see that breakout, not just tagging the previous swing highs of 5 cents, but previous levels of resistance. But my biggest critique right now looking at the Casper price chart is volume. We have not seen any large candles that shows me and gives me confirmation that this is it. Now, could it happen quickly? Absolutely, and sometimes it does for a variety of alts, but I just want to see much higher traded volume, and right now I'm just not impressed. So we can see on the Casper price chart right now, we're starting to get it, and we're just now approaching the zero line. So we want to see this continue upwards and get that momentum, similar to when XRP was right there. So we can see XRP shooting, and we actually retested some previous levels of resistance, surpassing this swing high. I would love to see Casper do the same thing, finally break through this level, actually flip it to support, and retest some much higher wicks. We know XRP since May of 2022 was down here for over 300 days, and we can see Casper pretty similar, pushing over 300 days as well. And I don't really leverage MACD too much. I like RSI a lot more, but when you are in a trendless market or ranging sideways for hundreds of days like we have for a variety of alts, oscillators can be very helpful. So whether you're using RSI and you find a divergence on a higher time frame when things are in the extremes, when they're overbought or undersold, they can be super helpful in a trendless market yet to break out. So looking at XRP on the weekly time frame, when the MACD did this crossover and started passing through the zero line, things got going. And we can also see back here in 2020, after XRP bottomed at approximately 11 cents, we got that crossover and we had a nice continuation or a good retracement up to $1.96. Now for macro investors, it can also be a sell signal once the MACD passes through the zero line, as it did right there when XRP was last around that 70-80 cent area. But overall, I like the XRP price chart because on the weekly time frame, we're starting to approach the zero line yet again. So for a variety of altcoins on the weekly time frame, it's a great sign to see their MACD starting to turn back up, approaching that zero line. If we can cross that, it's likely we'll see a pretty nice 2023. An example would be Fetch AI here on the weekly time frame. As we started getting that crossover of the first line along with the second, and the histogram starts increasing, we can see another big push, 300% up. And I'm not the biggest fan of leveraging MACD, but typically when you're looking at monthly and weekly time frames, it can be very effective for long term. And with all the massive news going on, it would not surprise me whatsoever to see a very good 2023. I think 2022 will be marked as one of the worst years in securities and crypto history. And remember, there are other alts that have reached past the weekly pivot to the R1, R2, even the R3. Notice that wick right back on the R3, and then this wick as the high for this year actually hit dead on the R2 weekly pivot. Now, of course, that's super exciting, but some of these, like AGIX, have ridden the AI hype. And some of these alts from their recent lows of November 2022, so just a few months back, wick to wick, this thing did a 1700% move, or an 18x, because it's a 1700% increase plus the initial investment. Now, of course, I know some of these are much lower caps than HBAR, but still great to see. And remember, we measured HBAR to the weekly pivot about a 105% move. The current market cap today is around $2 billion, so that's easy math, just over a $4 billion market cap if we reach that weekly pivot. And we can look at the market cap for HBAR during the bull run when the supply was significantly smaller. Its all-time high market cap, give or take, was around $6.5 billion. But something to keep in mind is looking at the historical snapshot tool on CoinMarketCap September 2021. So we can see a lot of alts in the top 20, give or take, are basically $10 billion market caps and beyond. Now, if we go all the way down to HBAR, we can see at this time in 2021, the circulating supply was only 9.6 billion, rather than today, over 30 billion. So that's definitely something to consider. And back in January, we were comparing FetchAI's bottoming structure to a variety of altcoins, including HBAR, whereas FET actually reached the 500-day MA. Now, if we go to the price chart, we can also see on the weekly pivots, as we're going to go over a little bit more with a variety of alts, Bitcoin has already reached the weekly pivot. XRP has already reached its weekly pivot. HBAR is still below its weekly pivot. Where is that pivot? Around 13-14 cents, which is actually another confluence with the wick right there. Now, we can plot some fibs and do additional comparisons. For Bitcoin, we know that it reached the pivot along with the 236, where it's currently sitting at today exactly. And doing the same thing for HBAR, all-time high to the low of this year, or technically the low of 2022, right in December. The 236 Fibonacci retracement is around 16 cents. So overall, if the increase in supply does not affect HBAR, they continue to grow, expand partnerships. And we can also see transactions continue to grow. It would not surprise me if this is just wave 1, here's 2, waiting for wave 3. Similar to Bitcoin doing this wave 1, 2, and 3 up to the pivot. So to keep it simple, we could be looking at the 236 near the candle bodies or the pivot, so 14-16 cents. And remember, when Bitcoin was last at $40,000 around this period, HBAR's price was around 20 cents. So to consider for the increase in supply, instead of being right back up to 20 cents, this would actually make sense, being around 13 to 16 cents. And just as FetchAI reached the 500-day MA, what has Bitcoin done, and what have we been talking about for months on end? Bitcoin is basically approaching to the wick, the 500-day MA. What about HBAR? Well, currently that 500 MA is right around, we'll say about 12 cents. So is it possible that HBAR can get that push up to 12 cents sooner than later? Absolutely. So we have a bunch of these lower caps. Here's another AI project, also doing another 10x from the low. Of course, Aptos, APT, backed by FTX. We have Binance and Coinbase, so this was a huge pump. We have Hex also reaching the weekly pivot. In full disclosure, I don't own any. We have Injective, INJ, reaching the pivot, cooling down a bit, and then pushing higher. And this project is like super deflationary, so it wouldn't surprise me to see this go much higher. We have some microcaps like Kilt focused on decentralized identity that is yet to wake up. So I hope this does well during the next bull run because the market cap is just so small. We know LCX already actually exploded, reaching the R1. And back to the P pivot currently. This is another one that did just about a 900% increase. You have Loom Network also reaching the pivot, wicking up to the R1, coming right back down. And we have Matic also reaching the weekly pivot, could be an indicator and leading for other altcoins that have yet to go. We can see just about a 400% move and reaching the weekly pivot at the beginning of this year. We have MDT also reaching the weekly pivot. You have Morpheus Network doing the same thing. I just wanted to show you a few examples of alts reaching their pivots, if not the R1. And we have QLC reaching all the way up 1, 2, 3 wicks on the R3. And remember that QNT actually rallied above the R1, came back down, currently consolidating on top of the weekly pivot right there. We have alts like Render, RNDR also from the low at the end of this year or beginning of this year, going right to the weekly pivot, 400% plus. We also have low caps that sometimes do wick all the way up to the R1 perfectly, but then a huge crash afterwards. So if any of my alts have back-to-back weekly candles like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I'm getting the heck out, or at least doing my best to rebalance and get my initial investment out and just wait for a pullback, if it's something I still want to hold. Otherwise, even just taking some profits here and just rotating into something that is still low could be very good. And then we have other projects or Binance coins that are just, shooting up wick to wick, 30x, 40x plus. But either way, you'll notice reaching, wicking to perfection, the weekly pivot, coming back down, and then boom, exploding to the next R pivots. Next up, for XRP and Trenglos, we can see shared by Bill Morgan. Remember early in the Ripple vs. SEC case when the SEC's attorney misled the judge and suggested XRP had no utility? I guess Tranglo does not agree with the SEC. Remember back in 2022, Ripple the company actually purchased a 40% stake in Tranglo. And they use ODL or on-demand liquidity which leverages XRP. So in this infographic below shared by Bill here, we can see XRP US dollar with the crypto exchange and Tranglo Singapore, the company Ripple, invoices, remittance licensee, and then the remittance licensee XRP wallet account. Now speaking of Tranglo, we have shared by Mr. Beddict, big news, Tranglo, Ripple's major ODL partner, provides instant payments to SEPA. And SEPA, or the SEPA, stands for the Single Euro Payments Area. So this is a payment integration initiative of the European Union. And SEPA consists of about 36 European countries. So Tranglo, Ripple has a 40% stake in this company. They use on-demand liquidity or XRP for remittances today with live financial institutions. And SEPA payout countries are the UK, Belgium, Croatia, Finland, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Netherlands, Portugal, Slovakia, Spain, and Sweden, with more to follow. So pretty cool to see Tranglo expanding throughout Europe for real-time cross-border payments to benefit millions of people and businesses. And you can see at launch the countries that are supported. And a few things I saw Crypto Eddie share, so I'm going to spam a little bit, then I want to talk and finish up with Casper, so please stick around. Based on XRP Ledger technology, manage the full central bank digital currency lifecycle. Each solution is built on a private ledger that is based upon the XRP Ledger tech, a proven blockchain, which is an umbrella term because the XRP ledger is technically not a blockchain. And we can see transacted over 70 million times, so over 70 million ledgers closed since inception without a single error over the course of 10 plus years. Trusted by financial institutions around the world. And friendly reminder for anybody brand new, XRP, the digital asset, has not just been trialed by major financial institutions. It has been tested with proof of concepts, actual XRP transactions by central banks, including the Central Bank of Russia. We can see right here, shared by Crypto Eddie again, this is MFS Africa. And I still remember all the numbers because we've talked about MFS Africa so many times. And they're going to be using on-demand liquidity, XRP. So once again, a mobile money network on the continent of Africa that has been in BIS documents, some of which recent this year by the way, being used to connect to other countries and continents, not just Africa. That's huge. So we can see this lady below right here, cross-border payments is indeed a race to the bottom in terms of pricing. Let me just confirm it really quick. Ripple expands into Africa. We'll see MFS Africa using ODL, talking about growing population in unbanked and underbanked, 400 million mobile wallets, 800 payment corridors, and 35, boom. And last one by Crypto Eddie, guys. I just had to share a few of these because they're all related. Imagine a liquidity hub, a pool of globally regulated sovereign stablecoins and central bank controlled wallets to dip into on demand to transact on interoperable private ledgers that require no intermediary to settle. Zero cross-border friction. Now, a lot of Bitcoin guys will bash XRP, but I am here for utility. I wish Bitcoin well, it can be a store of value, but it is not going to be solving the payments problem. Lightning Network does not cut it. And you can also check out this website. This is CasperEcosystem.io. So we can get a bunch of information here. It's great to see that it has been recently updated. You can just scroll all the way down so we can see bridges, DAOs, decentralized apps, DeFi, education, exchanges, gaming, infrastructure, launchpads, NFTs, oracles, partners. We have software kits and wallets. And just remember the grant program, there's going to be a lot more projects that are going to be launching on Casper this year. And the last major thing I'll share, and just want to emphasize with the Actus standard, as we've talked about with Actus and Casper on Nucleus Finance. So Nucleus Finance, this initiative built on Casper, is tokenizing financial contracts or instruments using 32 contract types that is developed by Actus. Actus has been in development for 30 years. So just like XRP holders and myself talk about the ISO 222 standard and Ripple the company joining the ISO standards body in 2020. That's awesome. Swift financial messaging. But there's a lot more than just ISO, guys. There are other types of standards that exist with financial contracts. And Casper's building infrastructure for banks and large FIs to tokenize financial instruments. And this is not speculation, this is fact. You can look at the presentations at the Crypto Assets Conference that just happened in Frankfurt, Germany, I believe. Nucleus Finance leveraging Actus. This is built on Casper. We can see some of the big four massive companies, Deloitte, PwC, you name it. Now, as we can see, this is shared by X Frontier, must follow on YouTube and Twitter, so thank you for this. The Actus standard covers 98% of all financial contracts that exist. And there are 32 contract types. So if you can make smart contracts and automation for these 32 contract types, you can basically account for trillions of dollars of value. So that's exactly why Casper and the reports, even according to Gartner, an estimated $3 trillion enterprise use case in the coming decade. And I do believe Casper will capture some of that. So the ACTA standard was added to the Financial Instruments Reference Database alongside ISO. So we've talked about this before, but just want to emphasize Nucleus Finance, built on Casper, partnered with WM Dot & Service, Europe's largest LEI issuer and data provider for the global financial market.
So for us, a financial contract is an algorithmic representation, plus of course it's still very important, the legal part. So we take the ACTUS standard for this. The ACTUS standard is an open source standard. It was developed over 30 years of research and development. The ACTUS is doing around 98% of all, covers 98% of all financial contracts there are. A bank, for example, a normal bank runs with around 6 to 7 different, let's say, cash flow exchange types. And this ACTUS standard, as I said, it was developed by Willy Bremmertz, and its exception found its way after the 2008 mortgage-backed security or subprime mortgage crisis, because no one understood what were the real cash flows that are potentially defaulting or that are potentially at risk. And we see that recently as well with SVB, because no one understood what was the future cash flows, no one understood what is the potential issue. And ACTUS has those 32 contract types, which are cash flows exchange patterns, to represent exactly that. It covers 98% of all financial contracts.
If you enjoyed this video, I'd greatly appreciate if you could hit the like button, let me know your thoughts down below, and my link tree is linked in the top of this YouTube video description, with all links, crypto resources, and discounts. I'll catch you in the next one.